Record. Perfect. Welcome back to Agent Tactics. We do this every Thursday at 10 a.m. Central. The replay gets put on YouTube as always. For those people that are new to Agent Tactics, just to let you know, the link for this stays the same every week. So if you get the link, just put it in your calendar, 10 a.m. Central, show up. I always try to have amazing guests. In a couple weeks, I'm going to be heading out of town, and Raj Sahu is going to be taking over for me. And we've got a good lineup of guests during that time. So please don't miss while I'm gone, because Raj has done a really good job with us. Today, my guest, Kristi Jencks, my personal Tom Ferry coach. She cracks the whip on me so I stay in line. And we just cracked the top 20 list at Real for small teams for quarter 1. And a lot of it has to do with the whip cracking from Kristi Jencks. And, on here, we always seem to talk about these ideas. Today, we're going to actually talk about implementing the ideas, how to actually get from the idea to close business. Kristi, welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. When Jeremy, when Jeremy said, "Hey, do you want to come back and be on Agent Tactics?" I said, "Yeah." And one of the things that I'm hearing a lot right now, and I'm super curious because I know some of you guys, and there's several of you that I don't, but we've been hearing a lot of buzz about agents struggling, especially agents in the Sun Belt. And everybody always wants to know, they're like, what's the next best idea? What can I implement? What can I implement? And I told Jeremy, I was like, I actually don't want to give them any new ideas. I don't think that you need new ideas. I think we just need to implement and execute on tried and true strategies that we know that work. It's the intentional. And here's why I say that. You guys come to me, you come to Jeremy, you come to other mentors, and you say, "Hey, what's working in your marketplace? What are you doing that's working?" And as I was thinking about, well, what could I bring to the call today? I was like, I've got a client in the Orlando area that's cold calling. For the first time, she just started, and she set an appointment every single week, like every session, actually, every session that she calls, she's setting appointments and going on listing appointments. I was like, cool. Well, obviously that's working. Uh, I coach Jeremy. We know that YouTube works, right? I coach lots of YouTubers, and I know that works. I coach people who just focus on Google Business. It works. I coach people who geographic farm. It works. The point I'm making is almost everything works. Why do you guys think that is? Is it because that agent's special?
I would like to think I'm special.
You are special, Jeremy, but
ways you are.
it's
So
because
tell me,
they do it.
why does it work? They do what?
They do that whatever the activity is, and they believe it.
They do it. I'm gonna decode that, what Tom is saying.
Consistently.
They're consistent. Thank you, Becky. They're doing it consistently. How many of you guys have actually taken an idea? Maybe it was from a conference, maybe it was from a webinar, maybe it was even from Agent Tactics. And you're like, oh my gosh, what Raj is doing is so cool. I want to do that. And then you dabble at it, meaning you do it a couple times. And then, someone else comes on. Who was our newsletter person that then the newsletter comes out and you're like, oh my gosh, I need to do that. So then you bounce from idea to idea, right? Like that happens all the time. So I'm really hoping that some of you guys will be vulnerable and open up and share. And I might even take like someone that wants to do like a mini coaching session with me here live with all of you guys, because I want to take you through some of the questions that I ask myself and I ask my coaching clients who feel like they're struggling. And it could mean that maybe your pipeline isn't as full as you want it. Anybody have a pipeline right now that they're like, I wish it was a little bit stronger? A couple of you guys. Amber, okay. Susan, right? And if your name is wrong on there, I'm just going to call you the name that's on there. So you'll have to fix your name on there. But I want to ask you guys, why do you think some agents are struggling right now and some agents are thriving? What's causing that?
In the last 3 weeks, I started walking, And as I started walking, I also teach twice a week. And so now every day, every Tuesday and Thursday when I teach lessons I learned while walking and talking, walking and waving, sorry. So as a card comes by, I wave and do they react or whatever. Um, I think people tend to lean into what they hear and not what they find out. And so that's what I see. And so in my walks, I try to get 100% people to wave at me. So if they're coming towards me and I wave and they wave back, that's 1 for 1. But if they're going with me and I wave and they don't wave, well, that wasn't really a wave because they didn't see me. Anyway, I'm the denominator in this. And so all I can control is me. But sometimes I forget that. And so in the last, well, actually starting June 1st, I decided that I was going to do a video a day on TikTok, like the guys in the Bay Area that Jeremy brought on. And the first day I had 0 people look, and the second day 0, and the third day 14, and the fifth day, or the fourth day or fifth day 265. And so it's building, but I don't know it works yet. I'm still just walking and waving. I can't control what they do. I just got to keep putting it out there.
Yeah, and you will analyze, right? And implement maybe small, simple changes. I'm going to also take something out that I want you guys to hear what he said. What excuses are you hearing in your own head lately? Right? What is the sound bite that maybe you heard on the news? Maybe you heard from someone else. Not much of us are water cooler talkers, right? But you get what I'm saying? Like, what Facebook group were you in? What text message thread? What news article did you hear that now all of a sudden TikTok doesn't work, or like YouTube doesn't work? Right? Geographic farming doesn't work. Whatever the lead strategy is that you want to implement, or maybe it's just nobody's buying because of interest rates, right? People don't want to sell because they're locked in because of their interest rate. I hear so many stories. One of my favorite books is called Soundtracks by John Acuff. And Soundtracks is a book about the loops that we have, right? What I'm old enough to actually have had a cassette player and and a Walkman, a CD player, but a soundtrack, right? It's a loop of songs, and we also have soundtracks in our head. So it's important that we call ourselves out, right? A Fisher Price record player. I love that, right? It's important that we start by calling ourselves out and we say, is this real? Or is this just a story that I'm telling myself? Or is this something that I just believed without actually going in and figuring out if it works, right? So who wants to be my guinea pig today? I don't know, Becky, maybe? Melissa? Who's willing?
I will subject myself to this. I have no idea what it's going to be, but I'll do it.
Okay. So, Becky, how is your marketplace right now? Like, are you thriving? Do you wish your pipeline was a little bit stronger? Give me just some context because I don't know much about your business.
Yeah, no, I definitely wish that my pipeline was stronger.
Okay.
I think our market in general, it's varied depending on it. We have certain areas that they are still moving very quickly, and we have other areas that are taking a while for anything to move.
Okay. So the first question that I'm going to ask Becky is one that I want you, like, and if you're taking notes, this is something I want you to write down and figure out, right? So Becky, what conversations are you having most often right now that are leading to business, or if not directly to business, to appointments?
I would say the biggest questions that are leading to sort of conversations with people are it's around, home prices. Are they dropping? Are they going to drop? Are they okay? Like what's happening? Because there's all this noise of, are we in a bubble? Is this a crash? All of that. And so I think that's the question that I'm getting a lot more traction on, is people are curious about like what is really happening in the market.
Okay, so let me back up. She went right to, this is the question that they're asking. How are you getting those conversations? So how does that conversation even come to be?
Yeah. So most of it is from, so I send out like monthly neighborhood reports from my like CRM website of the
Okay.
activity in neighborhoods. And then I also am sending out like an email newsletter that sort of gives a little like my take on the market in as a whole. And those are the things that are sort of generating those conversations.
So you're sending it out via mail, like that's going out into or it's just
Mm-mm.
email.
It's just email.
Okay. So you're sending out an email that's about, it's a neighborhood report. Many of you probably do the same thing. I have one called HomeBot. Some of you might have Fellow or Real Scout, or your CRM just does what's called like a market report, essentially.
Yeah.
By the way, that's an incredible strategy. It's how Meryl and I get so much of our business. In fact, 2 of my listings right now that we have are a direct, I can directly point back to using HomeBot as a tool. So Becky, you send that goes out, and then how do those are they calling you? Are they opening it? And then you go into your CRM and then you see that they opened it? Like, how do you know who to have that conversation with?
Yes. So I know that two things. So one, I am sending out like sort of like the neighborhood report from my CRM. And so when I go in there, I see who has looked at that. I also have HomeBot and I get the email every week to remind me. It's like, hey, here's your weekly insights. And so I've been going in there, and there are some things where HomeBot will say these people are likely to sell, but I know that they're not. But I'm still, because they're actively engaged, I will sometimes like send them a text or an email and just be like, hey, just pointing out something that I notice about what's in that report. Um, and whether that's an email or a text, and, trying to engage in a conversation that way.
Perfect. So the first part of figuring out pipeline and making sure that we're doing activities that are actually going to move the needle is I ask myself, what are the conversations that I'm having that are leading to appointments or leading to business? So she was able to pick out one right there. She might even, if we went further and I pulled a little more on that thread, she might come up with another one. It could be, oh, well, every time I, do my home anniversary calls, or I do my happy birthday calls, or every time I DM, 5 people on social media, it ends to a conversation. So start with your conversations. And then the next place that I would go is I'd say, go look at your last 5 deals, right? Like, ask yourself, go in there and say, where did my last 5 deals come from? When I look at my last 5 deals, 2 sources pop up. And so then I'm able to say, I know that works. Am I still doing the activities that led me to that business? So again, for me, about 50% of it is coming from my past clients. They're either referring me or they're using me again. So then I go back and say, okay, is my system in place? Am I still doing my HomeBot? Am I still doing my home anniversary cards? Am I still doing my quarterly touches? Am I still doing my social media strategies? Right? The other ones are agent referrals. Oh, dang, I've been slacking on my agent to agent connection. I haven't been, contributing back to the community, right? I look at that. So the second question I'd ask you is, where are your last 5 deals from? And that's going to tell you what sources worked. And then you're going to ask yourself another question. What do I know that works? And I just got distracted and stopped. Anybody ever been guilty of that, right? Like, I know I have. Something works and we're like so excited. This is how it typically shows up, Becky, is it'll say, yeah, I used to do that. Or, right, all of a sudden, like, hey coach, my pipeline's drying up, and we start to dig into, well, all of a sudden, Becky stopped using she said she gets the weekly insights. So now all of a sudden, Becky's like, you know what, Kristi, I haven't looked at my weekly insights in like 6 weeks. I've just been busy and I haven't time to make those calls. And now all of a sudden, that resulted in an anemic pipeline because she wasn't going into that weekly insight email, making those touches, making those calls, updating her CRM. Or it could also be, I would ask you, Becky, well, how can we get more people into that community report? Like, and so I'll actually ask you that weekly, how many people are you adding into that system?
I don't know. Not enough. I
Do you
haven't
have a
been,
goal?
I do not.
So this might be one of the first things that we do. And thank you. Okay, nobody pass judgment on her because she's being so brave. She literally has no idea what I'm going to ask her. She's being so brave, right? So if we know that this works, if we know that she can generate conversations by getting people into these neighborhood reports and getting them to open them, right? How much time, weekly, daily, should she be spending on an activity like this? And what are the ways that she could actually get these people to engage? And we can start looking at channels, right? So if I was doing a full coaching call with her, we would go in and say, okay, how can we use this for social media? How can we use this inside your sphere? How can we use this with people you don't know, that are not in your CRM, but you're just connected on social media, but you don't know their home address, you don't know their phone number, right? How can we build our email list? What could we do in print? Like, we would go through the full circle of all of the different channels of how people, generate leads, and we'd figure out what makes most sense. And then we would pick one that she would build a process around and implement, right? And now she'd say, okay, my goal is I want to add 30 people a month to this list. And these are the 2 to 3 strategies I'm going to use to continue to build this market insight report. And now all of a sudden, by putting a goal with it, right? Because see, she doesn't have a goal. She doesn't set her GPS. She's just wandering all around, hoping she finds people and hoping that her weekly report works. But now when we set her GPS, tomorrow, when she's deciding what she's going to do, actually, when she writes her report of like, this is what I'm going to do next week, she knows that she's got to get 5 people, right? Because it's 35 a week ish, right? Like, she knows, she's like, I've got to add 5 people. What am I going to do this week to get 5 people into my neighborhood report? And that could be, to Tom's point, what am I going to do to get 5 people to engage with my TikTok? What am I going to do, right? Like, pick your lead pillar. It doesn't matter, so long as you've got evidence that it's worked before. And we do have evidence that TikTok works, and he's building out, his process for that, right? So Becky, I have another question for you. What's the biggest opportunity in your marketplace right now? Like, what part of the market is moving?
I would say the luxury market is moving.
Okay, define luxury. So luxury is moving.
So I would say anything that is priced over 2 million tends to be moving really quickly.
Really quickly, as in like 30 days or less?
No,
Days. Okay,
like
days.
a weekend. Yes.
And do you service that part of the market?
I do not.
Okay, interesting. Are there any other parts of the market that are not sluggish besides 2 million plus that we're seeing is at a faster clip than, say, some of the other parts?
There are certain neighborhoods
Oh, okay.
that are, yes.
Neighborhoods. What is it about those neighborhoods that make them move, make them desirable?
They are in town. They are close to everything, all the stuff that's going on. They're close to work. So they're close to,
Location.
yes.
Okay. So oftentimes, you guys make your life more difficult by chasing parts of the market that are not moving, right? So let's say that luxury wasn't moving. Okay, I'm just going to give you a different scenario because this one comes up a lot. Well, I only sell above 2 million. I only do luxury. This is, I know no one on this call is going to act like that because we are all, right, have a growth mindset. But often they say, well, I don't do rural. Well, I don't do XYZ. Guess what, guys? I don't love to sell in the middle of the desert. But you know what's moving in my marketplace right now? The middle of the desert. That's one of the areas, right? So it could be a neighborhood, it could be a price point, it could be a specific product. There's another product in my marketplace that is moving pretty significantly, and it's new construction, right? So if I wanted to increase my pipeline and I wanted to get some right now business, I would analyze. I actually just did this with a client on a coaching call right before I came into Agent Tactics. We did an export MLS, and we looked at days on market by price point and zip code. And from there, we were able to start to see the product that's taking the longest to sell in her marketplace is between 500 and 700,000. And it was not by a little, it was by a lot, right? We were able to see that. With just that little bit of information, we could say and go back, okay, well, who do we know that owns a home below 500? Who do we know that owns a home above 700, right? Like, let's figure out, do we already have existing clients in our database that are within that price point that we need to communicate with? So if you are continuing to do the same thing and not get results, I want you to go and find what's moving. There's always a part of the market that's moving. Here in the Phoenix metro area, we're selling just under 6,000 homes a month. And that's okay. That's 12,000 commission checks that are being distributed, right? Is it good? Is it bad? It doesn't matter. There's 12,000 opportunities for me to go get something. Find what's moving and go after it. Okay. So let's create the no dabble zone for Becky, right? She's not going to dabble. She's not going to bounce from one idea to the next. She's going to figure out what to double down on based on some things, right? So I'm going to ask you a different question, and hopefully everybody's tracking along, and hopefully you're finding some use out of this inside of your own. Actually, I'll switch to someone else. Let's switch to someone else, and thank you, Becky, because I'm going to get a different question. Who wants to step forward and find their next 3 deals? Amber, unmute yourself. Come on in. Amber, what market are you in?
I'm in the greater Owensboro area, so we're like it's Davis County, Kentucky, but we're
okay, Kentucky,
near Evansville, the Ohio River, northern central Kentucky.
I've never been to Kentucky, so I just picture the state.
You need to come on. We have great weather. You have all 4 seasons in one day. So
she sells Kentucky good, you guys. Look at that. I like your enthusiasm. I'm sure it's beautiful. Okay, so Amber, if I told you that you had to generate 3 opportunities without spending a dime, and the only thing you could use is your database, where would you start?
Past clients, maybe.
Okay, past clients, I like that. Now I'm going to take a pause here, and we're going to create a definition of database for everybody here. So the question is, and the challenge, my very first coach, he issued this challenge to Meryl and I. He said, this is how he said it to us. He said, you have to generate a listing in the next 24 hours or you lose your real estate license. Yes. Go. Right. And then we just like walked through. So if the stakes were that high, right? So I'm telling Amber, she's got to generate 3 new deals. She can't spend a dime. She can only use her database. So for definition of database, here is what I would give you. It is your CRM, right? So that's Lofty, that's FUB, that's Sync, that's whatever it is that you use. It's a CRM. It can also be, so if you're not in a CRM, you should be, and you guys know because I've already talked about this on Agent Tactics, you should have a CRM. We could say it's your phone, right? So if I said, I said, Malcolm, the only thing you can use is your phone, go find, 3 deals. That means that they have to be programmed in your phone as a contact. And I don't know about you, but sometimes I have contacts that are like the FedEx guy. Like I don't know his name. All I know is, he's the guy that's at FedEx or whatever it is, right? So it could be your phone, it could be your CRM, and it could be a spreadsheet. Some of you guys operate out of spreadsheets. I would also extend your database to actual connections, like friends on Facebook. Instagram's a little bit different because you have followers. So people that you know on social media. Right? That could all be definition of your database. So the first place you said is your past clients. Does anybody else come to mind?
No, not really. I'm new to Reels. So my old database was Sync at my previous brokerage. And then when I left, because I've only been at Reel for like 2 months. So when I left my old brokerage, all of the leads that I had, she kept them. So
Okay.
I'm starting fresh. So
So she can't spend a dime. I want you guys to chime in on the chat. She can't spend a dime. She has a CRM. She's new to it. And she's starting fresh. So who else could she use without spending a dime? Friends and family, Rachel, absolutely, right? So that's going to be her sphere of influence. So she said past clients, and now we're going to expand that to her sphere of influence. Susan says open house. So Susan, what I'm going to put that as is I'm going to put that as existing leads, right? So you guys do open houses, you guys maybe get inquiries from Google, you get inquiries from all sorts of stuff, you get referrals. So when we're talking about a database, you guys did just pick 3 different chunks of people. So it comes down to the people that I've already worked with who know, like, and trust me, right? The next one is going to be the people who haven't done work with me, but I know, right? So Amber, do you have kids?
yeah, I have 2.
Okay, are they in school? What are their ages?
They are 9 and 16.
9 and 16. Okay, so they do go to school. Are they in any sports or any extracurricular activities?
Yes.
Okay, so would it be possible, again, without spending a dime, would it be possible that there are people that are associated with your children through sports or through school, PTO, clubs, different things like that, that are not in your phone and are not in your CRM, but that you have a decent relationship with?
So there's something I got to work on. I go and I don't really like chat it up with people. I just kind of like,
Oh, so what is she, you guys?
let them mind theirs.
What do we call someone like that?
A hermit?
A secret agent. Thank you, Becky. So Amber is being a secret agent, right? But I just told you, you have to find 3 new deals. You can't spend a dime, right? And you told me that you're kind of starting over, right? Your
Right.
database is starting over. And that's the kind of mentality I want you guys to have. The market is not giving Amber what it gave her when interest rates were at 3%. I don't know about you guys, but the market is harder for me right now, right? There are 4 stats that I'll share with you, and I will challenge you all to get these 4 stats for your marketplace. So going into a listing presentation, I was sharing this with Jeremy yesterday and challenged him. This is when I made him cry.
Yep, it's exactly. Two tissues.
I didn't actually make them cry. They're going to think I'm so mean. So the first thing that I'm sharing is, Mr. and Mr. Seller, one of the things that you need to know is that the listing success rate right now in the Phoenix metro area is actually 69%. Let's put some context in there. A third of the people who are trying to sell their home are not being successful. In Bethany Beach, Delaware, it's 15%. Right? In your marketplace, figure out what that number is. ChatGPT can help you with that, right? The second number that I'm sharing with them, and these are just market stats that I keep on handy. So when I'm calling leads, when I'm talking to my sphere, when I'm, and they ask me how the market is. But the second one that I'm sharing with them is the original list price to the sales price. Not the list price to the sales price, but the original. In our marketplace right now, you guys, it's 90%. That means that sellers are having to adjust their mindset on average by 10%. With the client that I just ran the number, 33% of all of the homes that did sell in the past 90 days had done a price reduction. And from the original list price to the sales price, it was 5%. So she is also in a declining market. We are not pricing homes at the comps. We're pricing below the comps based on a 3-month trajectory of a declining market. But I need to get that headspace in there. The third number I'm looking at is days on market, right? You need to know that right now it's taking 78 days on average for a home to sell. And in our marketplace, about 25% of all of the deals are falling out. for appraisal issues, for financing issues, and for some other things like that. Now that went a little bit off track, but where I'm going with that is you should have that type of market knowledge on hand, Amber. What I like to call it is 3 fun facts. I want you and all of you guys to go into the data and find 3 facts for buyers and 3 facts for sellers. So that way, when Tom's out walking, right, and he knows this person's in his neighborhood and they're chatting it up and they say, well, how's the market? He has on hand, as if they're a homeowner in his neighborhood, 3 fun facts, right? If I am going into, so someone said existing leads, open house leads. Those are potentially buyers on the most part. We're going to go in and we're going to talk about what's happening for buyers, right? The question that I asked Becky right before we switched to Amber is, what part of the market is moving? For us, it's new construction. Every single week, we're sending out a message of the deals that new construction is offering. So it looks something like this. If I could get you into a home with an interest rate that starts with 3, should we be out this weekend looking? I know of 3 or 4 different builders with spec homes that are offering incentives of a permanent buy down, right? If we could get you a full landscaping package, $10,000 towards your closing costs and an interest rate in the 4s, would it be time to sell your property? My listing that just hit the market yesterday, that's the exact message that got them under contract with new construction and their home listed. Because we know where the market is moving, right? Should we do a postcard in our geo farm with 3 fun facts? I love that. So Christina, if you're already geographic farming, 100%. And I'm going to share with you an example of this. This literally just happened with one of my coaching clients. He was at a Super Bowl party, and at the Super Bowl party, the gentleman next to him said to him, he said, hey, what can you tell me about capital gains tax? And he's like, that's a really interesting question. Now, without just, this is so important, and this is a scripting strategy, which we need Eileen to come on here and do scripting strategies for you guys because she absolutely crushes it. But he didn't just go into like yap mode, right? My daughter calls it Yapatron. He didn't go into Yapatron mode. He actually says, you know, that's a really interesting question. What makes you ask that, right? What makes you, right? So he didn't try to solve this problem. Well, here's everything you need to know about capital gains. He asked a couple more clarifying questions. And the gentleman said, Christina, he says, well, there's this real estate agent. Every single month, he drops off interesting real estate facts at my door. So this agent's actually hustling in his geographic farm, bringing market stats and one interesting, he just did like one real estate fact. And it just so happened that this, and at this instance, it was all about capital gains. And the gentleman had a 6-bedroom home. All of his kids were out of the house. He and his wife wanted to downsize. And now all of a sudden he was stressing out about capital gains and what that would look like. This is in California. So it was like, what would that look like? And what are my strategies? And Josh was able to have a really incredible real estate centric conversation. And then we went and tried to recruit that agent because I'm like, and what was that agent's name? And why are they not working for us? Because they're out there every single month delivering to his geographic farm just like Becky, the neighborhood report, but then also a fun fact about real estate or a real estate something that these people, and for that marketplace, it really does make sense because many of them are sitting on 50, 60%, gains. And that's really important. So, okay, moving right along.
There's 2 things that you said, I think I want to reiterate. Number 1 is you were talking about how as agents, when people ask us a question, instead of responding with curiosity, we do what realtors do and right? We just word vomit, tell people what we think they want to hear. Prime example, how's the market question. There's a guy on the baseball team, his son's on the baseball team. He asked me, how's the market? I'm like, oh man, it's pretty interesting. What have you seen? Is how I responded. He's like, well, we just listed in this private community a $3 million lot They don't allow realtors to list it. Otherwise, I would have reached out to you to list it. They only allowed their realtors. He's like, but can I connect you with the people there in case you have any buyers for it? I was like, oh, sure. So I got this tour of this luxury neighborhood. It's like just to get in there, just to get into this golf course neighborhood, it's $2.5 million to buy in there. Plus, you got to pay $250,000 for the golf membership. So I'm like, great. So I did some social media stories about me being at because I was like, fine, I want to go check out this neighborhood. I checked it out, did some social media, and I have somebody asking me to represent them to buy a $2.5 million lot. And had I just word vomited, I would not have known that, right? So that was one you said. The second thing that you've talked about here is going where the market is. I think we all need to really focus on going to where the market is. If you notice my content, when I talk about specific things, especially on YouTube, I'm going to where the market is. So where are the sales right now? Somebody was talking on here about the sales or it was Becky, over $2 million. How do you talk to those buyers? What content, what videos, how can we actually like talk to them and give them information? Right now, like my videos are geared towards, these are the deals. Like Austin is the least competitive market. Well,
You guys are down in 27% since 2022. Like
yeah,
that's insane. But
yeah.
you guys are having your best year ever.
This is
grinding.
literally our best year ever. And why is that? It's because I'm talking to the people that, okay, it's going to be harder for me to work to sellers. So who do I aim at? Who's my content aimed at? When I'm talking, who am I talking to? Well, I'm talking to that buyer that's nervous to buy a $750,000 house because they think the market's going to keep crashing. And so what am I doing? 3 facts. All right. So yeah, the market's down. A buyer of ours bought a home for $750,000, right? But that's not the price they paid. That was a list price. We got $35,000, $40,000 off. Plus we got them all of these buy downs. So their rates was this. Would you like more information? Or, you do a better ending than that. But that's
a
what
case study and a fact.
Yeah.
I love that even more.
So instead of talking about what we want people to talk about, we need to listen to where the market is and actually talk about to the people that need to fill that gap. So 2 things you said, I think I wanted to really reiterate.
No, I'm glad that you did. It's your show. You should. Okay. Becky says, what's quote fun about lower prices and longer days on market? This is such a fair question. Okay. Like I many times. And so Amber, at some point I would have told you, and we may get to it because I'm not quite done with you. At some point, I'm going to tell you, you need to do equity reviews for your clients. And Becky could say, well, if prices are down, do I really want to call my clients and let them know their home is worth less? Be honest. Like, how many of you guys feel like, oh, I don't want to call my clients where they're not in a great position? It's super fun making them the call and like, hey, you guys are up, right? You guys are up, right? Yeah, no. My neighbor that lives behind me, she bought for $1,050,000. She would be hard pressed to get $950,000 right now, like hard pressed, right? Should she know that though? 100%, because they had something happen in their family that, that caused them to question, should I sell? And what are her options, right? Like legitimately, it is my responsibility. So it may not be fun for me to have that conversation with them, but I know how important it is. Ultimately, we worked out a strategy because that's what we do. You guys have heard that. You guys have heard that quote. We get paid in direct correlation to the size of the problems we solve. Saving deals right now, creatively, is my bread and butter. It's actually my husband. He's way better at it. I won't take credit for his creative problem solving, but legitimately one of the skills that I'm working on right now is negotiation and saving deals. How can we save a deal? How can we work these numbers to make a deal happen? So, Becky, what I look at is who is my audience and who I'm talking to. And that's where my fun fact is. If you have to sell a home right now, I'm actually going to be contrarian, right? Like here's a perfect example. I sold a home for a client in a Toll Brothers community here in Eastmark, and the neighbor, we sold it pretty quickly, competing against the builder who's still building and has incentives. So we were like, yes, it was just, everything worked out. Well, the neighbor called. He said, you sold my neighbor's home. I want you to do mine. His listing had just expired. So we went over there, we looked at it. He'd only owned this home 2 years. The backyard wasn't landscaped, but it was in pristine condition. Everything was absolutely gorgeous. We landscaped the backyard so that we would be better than the builder who's still building and offering incentives. But the price was continuing to decline, continuing to decline, continuing to decline. Ultimately, Becky, we decided it was in his best interest to rent the home out, that he should not sell the home right now, that wasn't in his best interest. So if I'm talking to a seller, we're going to talk about, if you don't have to sell right now and you are competing, if you're in a new construction area and you're competing against the builders, you might not want to sell right now. There is going to become a point here in the Phoenix metro area where it will make more sense to go resell than new construction, but that's not the case right now. So instead, it's not going to be fun. It's going to be critical facts. Here's 3 critical facts if you are a home seller in the Phoenix metro area that you need to be aware of. And the agent you choose to represent you will matter. I already gave you the 4 facts that I'm speaking to every seller. Now pull yours back on. If it's 78 days on market and you're doing it in 52, boom, right? If it's a 90% original list price to sales price ratio and you're at 98, boom, right? If your listing success rate is 98% and the market is at 69%, there's your, right? Like all of that is your competitive advantage. So it might not be fun, but it's critical in my marketplace for seller. Now, fun facts all day long, exactly what Jeremy said. On average, every single buyer we have represented this year has gotten some form of concessions. I just closed a deal where the builder was Lennar. They did a 2-1 buy down and a permanent buy down at 4%. They gave him $10,000 towards his closing costs. They landscaped the backyard and they did a full appliance package for the next gen home. So that's 2 appliance packages, right? And they paid me 4%.
So this is a good opportunity to take and create a video with just that picture of that home in the background and go, buyers are super concerned about the Phoenix market, but the buyer that just bought this home got this, 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 and this, and this from a builder. If you want to know what builder that is and you want to work with them, DM me. DM or tag the word builder and I can DM you the builder or, you know, and then create conversation from it. So
yeah, that's a really good point. We're not telling them who the builder is. We're getting a conversation with them and then we're setting the appointment to go out and show them new construction. And also that these deals are happening because we're negotiating with the builders, right? We know which buttons to push so they don't just go do it on their own. And they want our representation because we're able to showcase all of the things. Here's another example. Any of you guys that know me, my daughter is 23. Her and her fiance bought a home. They closed on February 14th. I did create a story about this and I had a picture of Anna and Jaden in front of their home. And we talked about they bought that home at a 3.75% interest rate, full appliance package, blinds, and all their closing costs paid for by the builder. Someone in Idaho reached out to me. So not even someone that I know reached out to me and said, how did you do that? I was like, do what? The interest rate. How did you do that? So started a conversation with them, ended up referring them to an agent in Idaho who could show them new construction and find an opportunity like that. They wanted to buy a home. They haven't been able to because of interest rates. They didn't even know about incentives being offered. And you know, that was a huge opportunity. Amber asked a question. She said, I need creative ideas to target first-time home buyers. The homes in my area are under 200,000, are moving quickly. I've done 2 first-time home buyer seminars and no one has showed. What are the opportunities for first-time home buyers? So this is perfect, Amber. What should first-time home buyers know in your marketplace right now? But you're muted, so you'll have to unmute.
I don't know. I think right now the struggle with first time home buyers is that the ones that I have had so far, now mind you, I don't have anybody in my pipeline right now, but it's the realistic view of the market, right? Like they have.
So that's their pain point. Their pain point is
well, the struggle that I'm running into is that My first time home buyers that I have found so far, now mind you, I've only been in the business for a year and a half. So, they get parents that come in with them. And the parents talk about, because the parents haven't bought a home in a long time. So in their market, it was like, oh, it was offered at 150. Yeah, you could probably get it, offered at 130. And the parents keep repeating them, there'll be another house. There'll be another house. Just offer whatever you want to offer low on the low side, and there will be another house. So they don't want their kids to get emotionally attached to a house to be willing to make a competitive offer. Does that make
Okay,
sense?
I'm gonna call you out a little bit on this. I think you're creating a story.
Now,
I think that
I wish I had another way out of it, but the agents that I've talked to, they're like, well, you don't have the right training. Probably. I mean, I don't know. I'm
that's what
working
I
on it,
think.
but,
I do.
you know,
I think this is a great opportunity for you. So the first thing that I would do is, we're not going to use words like I think. I
mhm,
want you to know, right? That's
okay,
going to require you to dig in a little bit more.
yeah,
Here's what I know about first-time home buyers in my marketplace. They can win with new construction. They can win with our down payment assistance programs, and they can win in our rural communities. I know that, right? And I can do exactly what Jeremy said, and I can provide case studies, right? Now, problems with mindset around a first-time home buyer, fears of a first-time home buyer, pain points. What I would personally do for someone like you is I would say, I want you to go to AI and I want you to say, what are the pain points for a first-time home buyer in, and I forget, but I know it's Kentucky at this price point. What are the fears of a first-time home buyer? So we call this an ideal client profile. I want you to go through the motivation, the goals, the fears, the internal dialogues that those people tell themselves so that you can then create content to combat that. Right? So then after you truly understand that, and you're going to do that, you're going to co-think with AI and get all of that out. Then I want you to think about how can I educate around this? So then I would say, help me build a script to, help me build a talk track, if you will, or a script or a line of questioning is better. We don't want to talk at these first-time home buyers. You want to ask questions to uncover what really the issues are, and then help them understand that potentially in your marketplace, because of that sub 200, you're not going to really get a deal. And then you're going to go to your MLS and you're going to say homes under 200,000 are selling at 98% of the list price, right? And now it's not, well, I think that it's, here's what I know. You want to buy a home under 200,000, those homes are selling in 10 days for 98% of list price. Some of them are in multiple offers if it's, pristine, clean, move-in ready, right? So get some additional facts. That's going to help you create ideas and content. The goal is to create a curiosity gap. So now I'll go back to the example of my last two new construction contracts that I have. The curiosity gap was, if I could get you in a home with an interest rate that starts with 3%, should we be looking this weekend? How do you do that? How does that happen, right? There's a curiosity gap. They reach out to me and now we start this new construction, right? So to all my homeowners who felt locked in, so again, in the CRM, do you guys have tagged in your CRM the interest rate that your clients bought at? I love that Becky's nodding. That's great. So I can go into everybody that I know that has a low interest rate and I could say, right? Like if you feel stuck and you're ready to get closer into town. So these are targeted towards all my people who are out farther. Now we have inside opportunities through new construction where they could actually get into a home at a similar interest rate of what they're at. Would it be time to make that move? Right? Like what's keeping you stuck? Yeah, how are you guys doing that? Right? How are you doing that? Well, this is what we're doing. This is our trade up program, right? Like, you know what I mean? So create a curiosity gap, but first you need a deeper understanding of what's available for a first-time home buyer in your market. What are their pain points? What are their goals? What are their motivations? Right? And then you can create content. But Jeremy, what would you add to she wants creative ideas? What would you add to that?
I mean, this is, I put in the chat right here. Is this you? You're a first time home buyer and you're afraid of ... And then like do the counterpoint, right? The other thing too is, okay, first time home buyers, a lot of times do have their parents with them. So it's a great opportunity to say, oh, I appreciate what you're saying here, but where in the market have you seen that? I'm just curious of what your knowledge is of the market. Well, back in my day, oh, okay, awesome. Well, I appreciate that back then. What we've seen is that, and then go into the data. So I think this is too where most new agents are busy trying to find business, doing the 96% of the job, but or newer because you're a year and a half in. And it's the same thing with a lot of agents. We get stuck trying to do all of the other things when the best thing we can do is fill ourselves with the knowledge of what's happening on market. The reason why my channel is successful is because we talk about what's happening in the market. So people know that when they call me, they're going to know what's happening in the market. So I would create stories on your Instagram. I put things on Facebook. I would hit that. If you're truly trying to go after first time home buyers, I would post everything. 3 things that buyers are afraid of. I would make a post, 3 things buyers are afraid of. Here's exactly what we're doing to counteract that. DM me for more info. I
Oh, I love
guarantee.
what Mike said too. Build rapport with the parents.
Yeah, build rapport with the parents for sure. I mean, but again, that's too like, oh, well, what have you, if you're coming from curiosity to the parents, like, oh, well, what have you heard? Well, why do you think that? What deals have you seen recently? And not come from a sarcastic, but like, oh, like an actual curiosity. Then it gives them time to think about it. They may even go, oh yeah, I'm full of crap. Right.
Invite them into the buyer consult. Say, so, Amber, is there anyone else that you guys are going to be relying on in making this decision? Oh, well, our parents. Okay, perfect. When is this, like Thursday at 2, let's get you guys all on a Zoom. And now as you're doing the full buyer consult, remember, part of the buyer consult is educating them on the marketplace. So that's where those parents are going to have an opportunity to understand the list to sales price ratio. And if you're and then you're going to be able to ask questions. Are they looking for a deal, right? So are the parents looking for a deal? Well, then we need to be looking at homes that have been on the market more than 90 days. And then they're going to be like, oh, well, all those homes are overpriced. Why we don't want them? Exactly. That's why they're not selling, right? Like you'll be able to go through and do that. I'm going to put in the chat just for the people that stayed with us. And Jeremy, I'll send this to you so you can email it out with the with the rest of the information. But there are a couple more questions, right? Like if you want your pipeline, how do we go from everything we discussed today into action? Because I think it was Tom and it was Becky and everyone was like, those people are consistent. The people who are thriving are consistent. Jeremy hasn't missed a week of doing videos. He hasn't missed, right? Like, and I grill Eileen, like, how are you doing on your calls? How are we setting appointments? Like when we're in our calls, I'm talking about their lead follow-up. He's in charge of content, right? She's in charge of conversion, and we're constantly working and tweaking on that. That's why he's so consistent. He goes into the metrics, he does that. So it comes back to, what does a great day of work look like? Don't get twisted in what actually moves the needle. So again, going back to, if you had to find 3 deals without spending a dime, what would you do? How would you create more conversations? Conversations is your currency. The more quality conversations you guys are having, the more deals you will do.
Say that one more time.
The more quality conversations you're having, the more deals you will do. And I say quality because we can't just talk to, a server, random people at the gas station. Does that work? Yeah, but you're going to have a lot more conversations. Quality conversations, asking good questions, going a little bit deeper. And it works in every case. It works at open houses. It works in a geographic farm. It works cold calling. It works with your sphere of influence. It works with your past clients. It's just us being consistent and doing it. So ask yourself, if I focused on creating 2 to 3 conversations a day, who would I start with, right? What's one repeatable habit you could implement this week that would make the biggest impact on your pipeline? Is that just adding like 10 more minutes to your call session? Is that the power of one more, as Ed Milet says, right? Like I do one more, you know what I mean? And what would you do every day if you knew that your next 3 deals depended on it? What would you do? Right? Like, would you follow up with that lead one extra time? Would you get out your camera and send them a video text message? right? Would you do the extra equity review? Would you knock 5 doors to the left, 5 doors to the right, and 10 across the street around every single showing, letting them know that, hey, I'm showing this listing, right? And, ask them a couple questions. That's a crazy strategy. And guess what? I had a client that did it. Every time they'd show a property, they would knock doors around the property and just ask a series of questions. Why? Because she had no deals. And we knew that if she was door knocking and having more conversations, it would happen. By the way, she was in Southern California, Downey, California. I can't think of another place I would love to door knock. But she did it. It looks like Rebecca has a question. Maybe, maybe not.
Rebecca. Maybe not. So I've got people asking me, Melissa asked me where they can find the replay of this. So I will send out an email tomorrow with the replay, but we'll also put this on the Agent Tactics YouTube. In a second, I'll put that in the link or in the comment section here. So I have a Agent Tactics Instagram, so a lot of the videos will be cut up and put on there, and then they also go out on the YouTube channel. If you want to come to next week's conversation, it's going to be Ryan Rodenbeck, huge, massive team with Spyglass. That'll be next Thursday. Just copy the link that you had to get into this and put it in your calendar. It's just 10 a.m. every time. Go ahead, Kristi. I'll let you finish.
No, that's it. That's it. Absolutely. I'm going to give Jeremy my notes so that you guys can see those questions. I want you to go through, and then I want you to take action. You guys spent the last, hour with us. Take something from this call and put it into action.
Yeah, here, I'm going to put this. I got a couple of things I'm going to drop in. Here's that, but then here's if you want to get onto all of the stuff. So we actually do. So if you click on this one that says Fun Firefly, that link right there actually will get you. So what we do is we put out playbooks. So the playbooks are on this link. The YouTube channel is on this link, and then you can use this link also to get into the next event. So I always forget to put that out there, man. How did I not remember to put that out there, Coach? If my coach was on this call, she would absolutely be like, Jeremy, why didn't you tell people about the call logs? Yeah, and I'll add this to there as well. Any last questions? Because Kristi has a packed schedule and she's got to bounce right at 11. We're right at the end. Since Rebecca didn't want to ask a question. Mike, what's up? What do you got?
Not much. Just was kind of dealing with a little trickiness in the market the last couple months. Like everybody else said, some neighborhoods are slow, some are getting multiple offers. My business was very, very good in April, slowed down in May, and a little bit slow now. I just started building a team, so that's kind of taken me, having my focus on that as well. So
Man, I'd love to see.
Trying to master doing everything.
I'd love to see you do a video saying, what I've seen over the last 4 months in the market are 3 neighborhoods that are super slow and 3 neighborhoods that are hard to get into. Here's why. Here's the 3 neighborhoods.
Good one.
Slow. If I'm a buyer, look at this property right here. What I've seen is these have been selling, but 10% below list price. So a lot of these are overpriced. So these are the neighborhoods I'd be getting a good deal for a client. These are neighborhoods where my clients are going to have to go over list price. So which neighborhood would you want to be in? I'd be creating more content around that. Put that in your newsletter. I mean, if you've got an email blast that goes out to your clients, here's the 3 neighborhoods that are having the hardest time.
Nice.
I love that. We just did a strategy with that for a client in Park City where if you're looking to get in and build equity, these are the 3 neighborhoods I'd be looking at, meaning they're selling, it's not a deal, right? So it's not a deal of the week. It's the price that it's at, it's because they have the Olympics coming, right? We know that 5-10 years from now, they're going to have so much equity. So there's probably opportunities like that. Right? Like if you're looking for long-term equity, these are the 3 neighborhoods I'd be looking at.
Sweet. I love it. All right. We're going to end it there. Thank you, Coach Kristi. If you would like Coach Kristi to come back, just drop one of these or a one, just a comment, so I know that you want her back. And then also make sure you're coming to the next stuff. Kristi, if you, I know you do coaching for Tom Ferry, but do you have, I mean, I know you have agents you've brought over to Real. Do you have any other like side hustles or anything you're helping agents with that they should reach out to you about?
Actually, yeah, my newsletter. So if you're not part of my Take It and Run newsletter, that would probably be one of the best places. You can definitely subscribe to that. If you just go to my Instagram, I have an opportunity for that. Every single week, I'm dropping a tactic that you can use to get appointments. I'm also going to be doing a class next Friday with Meryl as part of the Take It and Run podcast experience, where we're going to talk about how to price homes in a declining market. So that's going to be Friday the 13th at 9 a.m. I'll make sure, Jeremy, I'll send everything for you so we can put it with the email wrap up.
Perfect. I appreciate it. All right, everybody. We will see you next week. Thank you, Kristi.
Bye.
Bye.